All right, let's welcome back to Newsmax Now Roger Stone, former advisor to the Donald Trump campaign. Roger is also the editor of StoneZone.com. Roger, great to talk to you again.
Great to be here.
All right, still a lot of discussion about that news conference yesterday. Jorge Ramos of Univision spoke out of turn. Let's take a listen to what went down.
Excuse me, sit down. You weren't called. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Go ahead. No, you don't. You haven't been called. Go back to Univision.
All right, obviously, Ramos had an agenda here. Speaking out of turn, Trump had him escorted out of the room, but he was eventually let back in for questions. Now, Roger, I've been in Trump press conferences before. There is a very structured kind of way that he likes to do these things. His press people talk to you ahead of time. You have to wait your turn. If you get your question in time, that's great. But it appears this was all staged by Ramos, but I was struck by the fact that Donald Trump let him back in almost as if in the process he realized the gravity of the situation and how this would be used by folks like Ramos down the road.
Yeah, it shows the inherent fairness of Donald Trump. We don't know who gave the order to remove Ramos, but he certainly deserved it. He was disrupting a public meeting. He hadn't been called on, and he wasn't asking a question. He was making a speech. His daughter works for Hillary Clinton doing Latin outreach. He's not really a reporter. He's an elite media
activist, really.
Talking head activist who wanted to attack the Trump immigration plan. So I think you saw the best of Trump here. First of all, he was in control. He was strong. He was firm. He never lost his temper. And he did spar with the guy, demonstrating that he doesn't back down. This round goes to Donald Trump, particularly among Republicans who are tired of the elite media that they view as being in bed with the political elites.
Yeah, I think it helps
the media
Ramos,
are always covering
too.
for the Clintons and the Bushes and so on.
I think it helps Ramos, too, because if you liked Jorge Ramos prior to this, you're going to like him even more. If you liked Donald Trump prior to this, you're going to like him even more. And vice versa, if you didn't like him, it's only going to solidify your feelings. I also want to talk about something that was reported after Frank Luntz held a focus group recently. He is not a Trump supporter in any way, shape, or form, but he talked about his findings from this most recent focus group, and I'm quoting him here, "Nothing disqualifies Trump," and that he was surprised that the group liked Trump more than most of the presidential candidates, and to the degree that they liked him. Trump and Luntz, of course, have this history. Why do you think Luntz was so surprised by these results?
Well, because Luntz is part of the Washington buddy system. He is one of the consultant class of political insiders who don't understand the Trump revolution, what some of us call Trump NATO. You know, actually, those of us who are true Trump loyalists use a hashtag on Twitter, hashtag huge, Y-U-G-E.
Yeah.
So I don't think he understands the whole Trump phenomena. This is bigger than the Republican Party. It's a revolution of the American voters who want a can-do, passionate leader who tells the country what it can accomplish. We need a cheerleader.
Well, speaking of the Republican Party, well, we'll talk about Jeb in a second, but speaking of the Republican Party, you have been talking about the RNC's efforts to scuttle the Trump campaign. Yesterday,
yes.
Politico talked about how Republican leaders in at least 2 states have found a way to make it very hard for Donald Trump, or harder for him, to get on the ballot here. Virginia and North Carolina are in discussions now about a new requirement to qualify for their ballots. It would require the candidates to pledge support for the Republican presidential nominee and not run as a third-party candidate in the general election. Now, there are some reports out today that Trump has told, and this is on the Huffington Post, so take it for what it's worth, but Trump told several top Republicans that he will swear off the possibility of an independent bid and commit to running as a Republican candidate. Are these efforts by these states and the GOP working to rein Trump in, to get him to commit to doing this?
This was a very successful tactic by Trump to ensure that he was treated fairly in the first debate, at least by his opponents. The New York Times reported that Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, and Scott Walker's campaigns were in discussions about potentially boycotting the Fox debate and future debates if Trump were included.
But are these reports true? Are these reports true about Trump swearing off this third-party bid?
Well, I think at some point it becomes legally moot. Frankly, if he doesn't change his voter registration by the end of the year, by the close of the fall, actually, he wouldn't be able to run as a third-party candidate anyway because of a number of state ballot laws regarding third parties and independents. So I think he's giving up little, but so far he's successfully used the leverage to make sure that his access to the process is fair, that no one's cutting off the debate, nobody's trying to keep him off the ballot. At a certain juncture, we'll have to make that legal decision anyway, so the threat, frankly, is somewhat moot.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. Roger Stone, thanks so much for being with us.
Sure.